What is up, traders, and welcome back to another live. Today is Friday, June 27th, and the markets are rallying, seeing intense strength led by semiconductors, for example, NVDA, and a little bit of AMD, although a little bit weak on the day, but NVIDIA has been nothing but upside. Intense momentum, intense upside, and overall the market is looking pretty good as we break all-time highs here. So let's take a little overview here at how the market opened and what the news came in, pretty much the important economic data that overall is affecting the markets today in a very positive way. So let's dive in today here on the newsletter. Get it right here. Absolutely free for you guys. All you have to do is just enter your email and you get that personalized email straight to your inbox every single morning. To June 27th. So we have the overall S&P 500 and NASDAQ hitting record highs with AMD stock breakout amid the trade optimism. So looking at the overall economic data that we had today was really important, as we got the core PCE price index month over month, and it actually showed an increase in consumer prices here. So we got forecast of 0.1, and we actually got a higher number. Personal income also came in lower, down negative 0.4, showing a slower overall spending, right? A little bit of a slowdown here in the economy. Like I said, we're seeing that economic slowdown with GDP coming in lower, retail sales, and now personal spending, or personal income month over month, and personal spending month over month coming in lower as well. PCE price index month over month actually came in flat, in line, but PCE price index year over year did come in higher, right? So pretty much we're seeing a lot of factors that are showing that slower economic growth, and at the same time we're seeing a little bit of prices going up, right? But I firmly believe that with the majority of the indicators or here the economic numbers coming in, that the Fed will cut rates. We'll see one rate cut by the end of the year, whether it be on the next meeting, which is in July, around there, or whether it will be at September. But I firmly, and the overall market is factoring in, that we'll be seeing a rate cut by the overall end of the year. And I'm really optimistic about that, to be quite honest, around there. And the reason for that is, if we look, for example, the CME Fed tool, Fed Watch, pull that up. If we go to, for example, CMEFedWatch.com, and the next meeting, right, for example, but we look at the overall statistics and probabilities here. So around 79% of individuals in the market is factoring in a rate cut by July 30th, right? It's a pretty high number, and actually increased a lot over the past week, ever since we got those important economic numbers. Now, what I really like here is that by September, the next meeting, it goes up to 90. Or here, actually, target 72% target rate. Some individuals believe actually a higher cut. I don't think this is actually going to be happening. More likely will be within this range here. So there's a lot of optimism here in the markets, and we still have the next Fed meeting in 33 days, right? But it's very important to factor that in, as the market does react and is now looking to see what the overall impact of the Trump tariffs were on the economy, and is it showing in the overall increase in prices. That's what's really kind of being factored here after the easing geopolitical tensions. The market is going to be focusing on that, more focusing on now on the overall rate cut and the overall outlook on the overall economy here. So gotta take a little closer advantage on that. Pretty much we also got Michigan consumer 5-year inflation expectation sentiment. So if we look at that on a little bit of a slower scale, right here the number actually came in quite well. So for example, we had the consumer sentiment final came in a little bit higher, right? But the 5-year inflation expectations final came in lower. The forecast was 4.1, and we actually got 4%. So consumers are expecting a little bit of an easier inflation here, not too high. Looking at the expectations final, I also came in lower, and the current conditions actually came a little bit higher, but the Michigan inflation expectations came in lower. So we are seeing that there's less expected inflation by the consumer based on this survey. The market is factoring that in as well, and that's what we're seeing. The market pretty bullish on the day, and it's also quite important to note here that it's pretty good signs, right? Showing that the consumer has confidence in the overall projection of future prices here. So pretty much that was overall economic numbers that we got in today. The overall rundown, the markets were up pretty good on the pre-market. The Dow Jones up 0.4%, S&P 500 up 0.2%, and the Nasdaq up 0.3%, a record intraday high. Overall, we had optimism returning as President Trump has confirmed that the U.S. and China have signed a formal trade pact and a truce, cementing the tariff truce established in Geneva last month. China also agreed to deliver rare earth minerals to the U.S. per Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick. This is really bullish news, especially toward the semiconductor space. Additionally, trade deals with 10 major U.S. partners are reportedly near completion, which is very good, right? We're seeing that, completion here, the truce. And it says additionally, trade deals with, and Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent suggested the most important negotiations could wrap up by Labor Day. Really good news. Now, the trade of the day here is AMD. Like I said, it's an absolutely amazing name. It's been on a tear on the daily. Seeing that intense upper momentum, kind of pulling back on the day here, but overall, it's showing underlying strength. Right, we don't want to go against the major trend, which has been towards the upside here, based on the daily. If we also look at, for example, the 1 hour, we're also seeing that intense upward momentum. Right, we don't want to go against it. Right, on the 30, it's kind of seeing some rejection at the $148 level. But, we can't discount that intense move that it's been having overall. I'm really liking this name. And, it's showing the bullish signals as it's following NVIDIA's lead in the AI and semiconductor space. It's like second. Like I said, it's been pretty much seen as the, being behind in the AI race, right? With NVIDIA being the leader and, them just catching up. And now they're slowly starting to, see that move now, especially with their focus on agentic AI. We kind of broke that through on the video. Feel free to watch that. And, they really emphasize that is the next step in AI. And obviously, the innovations are barely starting. You can just look at, AI videos, for example, a year ago compared to, AI videos now, right? Especially with the new Google VO3, right? The model, all these viral YouTube videos that they're making, TikToks that just show how realistic AI has been, and it will continue to increase basically, and we're barely getting started, right? The capacity isn't even at full scale. So I'm really bullish on the AI space here. Also, we're watching AMD because we're seeing the strong bullish sentiment across the time frames, right? It's a clear breakout above the 50 EMA on the daily, and it's holding above its 50D EMA on the overall intraday time frame, so the 5-minute, 10-minute, those shorter term time frames. And the volume is rising, confirming the price confirmation, right? That upward momentum that we're seeing. And like I previously stated, the semiconductor gaining momentum alongside NVIDIA. And this is obviously a potential swing opportunity if the momentum holds above the support. So I'm really looking on this name importantly, and especially the volume, see if the momentum is still going to be continued, well structured, right? And yeah, overall, like to sum it up, the most final thought is that the overall market is seeing the bullishness with easing geopolitical tensions, the Fed rate cut speculation, and positive headlines coming in with trade and US-China deals and also the other countries. It's fueling this intense momentum, and the market with all-time highs just adding more to that confluence. So we're really looking bullish on the overall market and especially on NVIDIA. Going now back to the markets, the overall chart, NVIDIA is strong on the day, absolutely amazing. Let's check a little look at the triple Qs here. Absolutely up on the day, above its 50 EMA. Remember, like I said, when we are above the 50 EMA on the overall intraday time frame, for example, this is a 10-minute, we'd like to give the benefit of the doubt towards those buyers because there's pretty much underlying buyers in the name. So we opened up quite strong. We're actually up around 0.5%. Here we opened up, we actually found resistance at this R2. We came back, found support at VWAP. It kind of went below it, captured some liquidity, some buyers here. And, institutions got a cheaper price. We entered pretty much. It went up. Now it's finding the resistance at overall R2, showing that it's been a feasible, right, area and support. And also, what I really liked about this level here is that not only was it towards VWAP, right, but it was also this R1. So this previous area of resistance now acted as support here, right? So it just, gives a lot of, confluence to this overall general area, right? And that's where we saw that bounce. Now we're kind of seeing a little bit of a pullback here on the triple Qs, but I may find support here at the VWAP. So, to make this, clearer, we'll probably make it thicker. Let's see. Yeah, like that. Yep. So yeah, really bullish on NVIDIA. Looking at the overall NASDAQ volume gainers, the one that's been doing the most is NVIDIA, coming in at number 1. It's been nothing but increase. It's up 2% on the day. Very, very strong. It opened, right? Actually, yesterday we held the 50, right? So it's kind of, surprising to see that we're continuing this momentum, right? We opened, we kind of declined, kind of, made a fake out, maybe trick some sellers into going short, capturing, some liquidity here, getting cheaper prices here, and slowly starting to bid up. And we, once we closed up a VWAP, that was our signal to go long, and we entered here at an average price of 156.80. We're still holding the position. We're about 50, pretty much holding 50% of the position, right, of our initial entry price here around 156, signifying that the buyers are still intense. And also, we've been looking to play this with options throughout NVDA, which is a little bit cheaper. The 2 times bull overall derivative, and yeah, NVIDIA's been quite strong, right? Not just that, because it's been holding above VWAP so far. We're above the, you can say overall, the anchored VWAP band, right? This band towards the upside, we're above it, so it shows, intense movement. And also we're above the 50. Like I said, buyers are in control of the trend, right? And NVIDIA is, one of the strongest. It's been right now the leader on the day so far. Yeah, overall it's been the leader of the day, and it's, really, really intense. If we look at this chart on an overall 30-minute, we've been seeing that we've been increasing nothing towards the upside, right? It's seeing intense upward momentum. And what I really want to factor in here, and I want you guys to, take note here, is that we always want to, gauge the overall longer term trend, right? We want to factor in what the buyers have been doing since the beginning of the week, right? Monday, today is Friday. So simply what we can do is plot a week to date anchored VWAP. So a VWAP measuring who's in control since the beginning of the week on Monday. So if we zoom back, right, this is Monday's anchored VWAP, and when we are above it, the buyers are in control. If we are below it, then sellers are in control. And if we are, kind of ranging in between, then it's consolidation. And so far, NVIDIA on this day, Tuesday, it opened above the overall week to day anchored view, which is this purple line, and that pretty much gave us indication that it is a long, and it has been a long, because we haven't even come close to touching it. As long as we remain above this week to day anchored VWAP, right, we remain bullish throughout the whole week. We're looking always for long opportunities, and obviously that's what helped us, gauge the momentum and, become, really, really profitable on this name, right? As long as we remained above that week today anchored view of this purple, we should have been looking for longs, and that's exactly what we did, right? The whole time we were holding above it, we kind of consolidated, right, which gave us more chances to buy because there was underlying strength with also the slope of the 50 EMA increasing, and we went up, and look at still strong momentum, right? So this whole week has been nothing but an intense upward move, and really strong here for NVIDIA. Now, let's see another name here. Let's look for Lucid. Not really too important. I don't really like that name. It's popping up. Let's see this name here. It's Lucify. Actually, let's see, kind of opened strong on the day. Found some resistance at around $13, almost 14 exact. Pulled back, kind of fell below VWAP. But, we're still above the 50, so we should say that, price is declining, but we have a rising 50 EMA slope. we have that divergence, and it's still showing strength. So we can say that relatively Lucify or Locify, sorry about that, Locify is relatively strong here on the day. We should be looking for longs, right? If you went short, right, obviously you could have been profitable, got some pretty well, defined entries, but it was very short-lived, and now we're seeing that bounce towards the upside. So I like to be long if we make a new high, we break above 1141, kind of target these highs of $14 here on the right. If we break above here 1145 around this price area, we can target the all-time highs here of the day, right? We're really bullish on that. Looking here at overall Palantir, this one's been pretty weak on the day, surprisingly, actually pulling back, and we can kind of gauge the momentum if we plot, for example, the pre-market levels and overall price action. We look here, for example, okay, yesterday we closed off yesterday kind of flat, right? Yesterday was kind of flat. During the post market, we remained above this key area of support here, this 144 that we held throughout the whole day here. Then the post market, and then the pre market, we actually bid up. We found some buyers, but we found some resistance here, kind of curling towards the downside. And simply, all we could have done here, honestly, right, and telling you guys how simple and easy it is to trade, right? Trading doesn't have to be complicated, right? The simpler you make trading, the better it comes out. There's no reason to overcomplicate, right? You just have one strategy, right, and just use it, right? So simply plotting the pre-market levels, obviously the pre-market high, which would be this red dashed line, and plotting the pre-market low, so the low of the session there of the pre-market trading, we'll put that as green, and we opened and we closed below it. We broke it, so pretty much that was a signal to go short the name, right? That signal breaking below and closing below the pre-market low here, this green dashed line that I'm pointing at right here. If you guys can't see that, I'll put that with my arrow. This line, as it broke below, that was initiation towards the short side, obviously targeting this pivot point here to take profit. Obviously take like half profit, take some of the position off, using the momentum to your advantage to buy back your shares, start to cover it a little bit, still holding, and then holding more towards this side. And look where we found support, exactly at this pivot point, right? So you had three areas where you could have taken profit. Initiation of the trend towards a short, you could have entered your short position here, and we're also below the 50, so relative weakness, right? You go short here, probably with a limit price, so if you probably have to go on a 1 minute, a very smaller time frame, execute, you enter your short here, you target price profit taking at these levels, there, and there, and once you see this bounce, right, so this candle closing higher than this one, that would be your out, right? Because now we're also pretty much getting towards VWAP and that rally, right? So we're seeing pretty much an intense downward candle. We found support here. We actually bounced off this S3, so support 3, and this candle closed higher than this one, so that signified that the momentum was now going towards the upside. And I'm not saying that it's that it's going to reverse completely, right? But generally what I'm saying here is it was kind of signifying that the momentum towards the downside was kind of fading, and now seeing that reversion towards the mean of the day, which is VWAP, right? That's why these deviation lines are based off, right? So this candle, the pulse there. So I'm expecting maybe to find some resistance at the VWAP. It's if the trend has, if the sellers are really intense, they won't let it close above VWAP. But if he decides to go up and break above VWAP, we'll probably find some resistance at this $141 level, around this overall zone here on Palantir. Like I'm saying, around here we may find some overall sellers here around this area, some supply to keep bringing the price down. If, like I said, if the sellers there's two cases here. If the sellers are really intense, we probably won't even close above VWAP because they're bringing the price back down. But if the sellers, are not as intense and the buyers are a little bit more, seeing that momentum, then we'll most likely see that area here, that supply zone right there at around that area. So yeah, Palantir surprisingly pretty weak on the day. Let's see this on a 30 of a longer term time frame. Let's check this out. Yeah, and actually, it's closed below. It was holding the 50 during this whole way up, right? This uptrend, it was holding the 50 quite nice, this yellow line, but now we're below it. So, I guess we are prone for a pullback here on Palantir, right? On the daily, it's been really bullish, but now, I guess it's time for some decline here overall. Yeah, really nice trend. Now another ticker here is CYN. This one also yesterday was in play, and it's been pretty intense. And let's see, using the pre-market low and pre-market high. So this yellow line, the pre-market high is here, the pre-market low is here. As soon as it broke, the short initiation started, and also below the 50 now. So it's been a pretty weak name, right? And it hasn't seen its intense upward move that it saw yesterday, right? CYN was pretty in play yesterday, as the momentum was towards the upside. We saw the volume increase, but now it's looking weak. It's below like I say here, it's below here below VWAP, before the 50. It made this yellow line, and failed the pre-market low, which was around here at $18.76. Now that we close below that, we're now declining, right? So possible areas where we may find some support here on YN is probably most likely towards this $13.67 level. So around there, you may find some support here on the name, right? So we'll have to see, but it is looking relatively weak. Nothing like yesterday's move. SoFi, this name is an absolute beast, an absolute monster. Still strong on the day. Pulled back exactly towards VWAP. Gave you guys another buy entry here, and it just bounced off VWAP, showing that the buyers are in control. We're also above the 50 EMA, right? Gives us that confluence and that overall, pretty much confidence on the name. Also, it was a pretty long today, right? Pretty easy long. If you plot the pre-market high, the pre-market low, we broke above the pre-market high. We actually pulled back a little bit, and we found support at $17. Boom, upward move, and pretty profitable trade, right? Kind of take profit here. It's saying that the next area of resistance here is towards 1780, but I think maybe it's gone a little bit too far. Who knows, right? But on the daily, SoFi is looking absolutely amazing. It's it's a swing trade that I actually have at I think $15. Entered that swing trade, and it's been pretty good so far. And showing an intense upward move, and we're almost approaching the all-time highs, and I have some price targets on SoFi, I think towards $21. So there's still some upside here, and the intraday is clearly showing that the shorter term time frame, the 5-minute or the 10-minute, is in confluence or matching the longer term time frame that we see on the daily. So I'm really liking this name. Intel, on the day it was quite strong, but reversed the whole move, a sharp V downside, like we like to call this the Christmas tree, because it looks like a tree, and then it just declined pretty heavy. And it's below VWAP, and looks like we didn't find support there. It looks like buyers are completely out of this name. And Intel on the daily, really heavily been a criticized name. You guys know this, right? It's been seen, like I said, that's behind NAI, and I firmly believe that as well, right? It's that lack of innovation intent. They're behind pretty much the majority of these semiconductors, right? Like, come on, right? Like the overall CEO, Pat Gelsinger, they took him off, right? But I think the damage was done already. Pretty unfortunate for the holders. Pretty much, I believe there was a report that came out that if you've been holding Palantir for the last 20 years, you're pretty much flat, or actually losing money now. So it's kind of a shame, right? All that time and money could have been, all the opportunity costs could have been allocated towards a different name, or some different type of innovative name. Looking at Tesla on the day, this name I've been, kind of looking to not trade it intraday, especially because there's a lot of conflicting signals. There's not that time frame confluence. So what I mean by that is that the daily is showing one thing, but the 5 minute or these day trade type of intervals, like the 5 minute, 10 minute, 15 minute, 30 minute, all these intervals are showing different signals. So the daily it's showing bullish, the 30 is bearish, 15 is bullish, and it's like, it's not seeing. If it was bearish, the whole thing, if all the times when we're bearish, we'd be looking bearish on the name, right? But since we're seeing, or vice versa, right? But if since we're seeing that mix up, not that decisiveness, it shows, in the price action today, right? So we're trading within a range, and we're not seeing the intense moves, right? And that's why I haven't been overall day trading at all Tesla. I'm not looking to get involved at all until the majority of the time frames do come in confluence or match. I'd be looking now to trade here Tesla, right? And hopefully I did pretty much kind of avoid this little mess pretty much, right? So we'll see. On the day, this ticker has been really one of the trending tickers here that I've been looking at here on X. IMMB, one of the tickers that's been moving, is actually, it's up 24% on the day, still positive, but found resistance at VWAP. And if we take a little closer look, we opened quite strong, but surprisingly, VWAP did find that resistance there at VWAP, but pretty much it was kind of seeing that upward momentum. It failed. We saw this heavy downside rejection of this price level here, some heavy supply at this area, and with this heavy candle and break and close, pretty much this candle here, break and close of the overall, below the 50 EMA, this yellow line here, kind of signify that buyers are not here, they're not in the name, sellers are really adding the supply and just taking advantage of the move. And now it's really declining, it's really tanking. Possibly some support may encounter this next pivot point here, 730. Around there we may see some support, some buyers coming in, or some profit taking here from the sellers that been adding the supply ever since $11. So we may see some demand starting maybe to pick up here around 730 on the name, but right now it's looking pretty weak. And honestly, I'd be looking only for some short entries, to be honest. Looking at Warner Bros. Discovery. Let's see if it pops up. Like this trading view is glitching or what? Oh yeah, here we go. Yeah, WBD, Warner Bros. I'm not gonna lie, on the past days, it's been intense moving, right? Obviously doesn't really do a lot of volume during the post market, the blue shaded areas, and the pre-market here doesn't really do a lot of volume, not a lot of liquidity, but when it opens, the volume just kicks in, right? And yesterday it was also a nice upward trend. Didn't find a lot of resistance quite heavily. We got above these key areas, above this R1 like nothing. We sliced it like nothing. We actually did find some resistance, but we pulled back VWAP and confluence zone at the 50, so this level was matching here. Let's see here, but we found support, bid up, we went right above it, and also we went towards the next area of supply. Buyers were intense, we went above it, and we actually closed there. So really bullish name today on the day, really strong as well. It's above the 50. Actually, it was pretty strong, kind of reverse with this, pretty heavy inverse hammer candle. Sellers looking at this wick here, sellers coming in pretty intense here on the name. If we look at this from here, this intense wick propulsed this downward move, and honestly, we may find some support here at the VWAP, right? I don't think it's gonna reverse, but if we don't, then there's more downside towards this level. What I'm really liking here is that there's confluence again, like I said, between if there's no buyers here, then the most demand most likely will be at around this area here of 1130. And what I mean by that is because we have the 50 EMA, this yellow line, and the pivot point matching. So this area here in general is looking like a good area for some demand to start coming in on the name if, like I said, the buyers fail to hold their average entry price here at the intraday VWAP, right? The blue line, right? Just really important to take a factor of that. They're on the overall Warner Bros. Looking now at let's see, AMD, pretty weak, Look at this name. Actually, reverse the move. Let's see if we take off this prior VWAP there. Okay, there it is. So yeah, it's kind of finding support at the pre-market low. Broke above the pre-market high, but reversed at 147. Looks like we found some heavy supply at around this zone. It's quite intense actually, but it's kind of holding the pre-market low. Maybe some areas of demand here, but like it's below the 50, right? The yellow line here is, it kind of sets doubt in my mind. Are the buyers really in this name? Like, if the buyers were truly in this name, just kind of zooming out and thinking about this realistically, like if the buyers were really on the name, wouldn't they have defended, one, VWAP, two, the 50 EMA, right? Why didn't they defend it? It's because they're not in the name, right? Or if they are, they're really weak. They have no motivation to buy the name today for some reason. God knows for I don't know what reason. The price action is just telling us their intentions without having to know exactly the reason why. And that's why I believe price action is king and is always the number one decider of news and discounts, right? So I'm really liking here AMD on the short side. It's looking like a pretty weak name compared to NVDA, which is continuing its break of the all-time highs and seeing that intense upward momentum. So yeah, not bad. I'm really looking pretty bullish on NVIDIA, but bearish here on AMD, looking pretty weak. Another name here is Core Scientific, ticker CORZ, or how the Canadians would say Z, right? It's kind of below its 50 EMA. It's seeing some type of rejection, but if we kind of look at the grand scheme of things here, it's pretty flat on the day, right? If we kind of gauge this, it's kind of trading within a range, right? Some key support level defended once, 2, and 3 times at around $16. We can say around that area, around 16.10 to be more exact, and finding some resistance, 1 and 2 times here, once, twice at around 16.97. So within this, I'd say 80 cent range, 85 range here. It's finding a little bit of difficulty, getting either below, towards the short side, or getting above towards the upside. It's finding, some difficulties, just kind of, seeing that next move, right, in the overall market here. Let's see. The next name here is SVRE. It was pretty strong at the beginning of the day. Actually rallied up here. Actually opened at $2, rallied up towards 5, and it found resistance exactly at $6, around there, almost those key even levels. Usually with these smaller cap names, when they're trading, like these dollar increments, at this point, pivot points really don't come into factor. You want to kind of factor in the key areas of resistance, which would be the even dollar levels, or let's say, for example, like the $1, the $2, the $3 are important psychological levels where sellers, or buyers, may look to buy because they're key levels, right? Even for example, the $1.50, $2.50, $3.50, like those precise levels usually find some resistance, and we actually found it right here at around 560, 550. See, like I said, and it just propulsed lower. It's below VWAP, but we could say that it's relatively strong because it's above its 50 EMA. So we're seeing that divergence of price declining, the 50 EMA increasing. So generally we wouldn't want to get involved so far. We kind of want to wait to see that curl towards the upside, because the buyers, like I said, are generally in the name here, right? So yeah, it's not looking too bad, but yeah, I wouldn't get involved here so far. Looking at that, yeah, okay, the next name here, CIFR. Really strong on the day, above VWAP, above the 50 EMA. Had a nice breakout here at around 8:10 or 11:10 Eastern time. Had a nice break. It's been closing above. It's been seeing nice upward momentum, nice upward moves, and yeah, next area of resistance probably towards this pivot point here at 460. I really don't like trading these names because I mean, you can go big share size, and I don't know if this name has options, but you know, it's, wait, it looks like it's halted. Actually, that's why I really don't like trading these names, because now it's halted, and when it's halted, you're indecisive. You know, there's obviously that theoretical auction price, like that tap. It kind of shows you where the stock closed. So obviously, right now it's saying that it closed at 447. But you know, when it's how do you say it? When it's overall, you know, being on that pause, you know, it's so much uncertainty. You don't know whether it's gonna close above or below, right? So just, you know, having that uncertainty and not knowing where the price action can move next is you know, I don't really like that, and you know, kind of tend to stay away from these names most likely. Where there's, I generally tend to move towards those names, those big names, like, you know, the Max 7, where they have more liquidity, and then obviously they're not going to halt, right? You know, because I'm certain, and I like to see that continuation of the price action, right, and not just random halts. Looking now towards SMCI, it's pretty bearish on the day, actually, surprisingly. Below the 50, right, throughout the whole day. Below VWAP, found some support here at this pivot point here around this area, but yeah, it's looking weak on the day, right? If we do bid up, we probably will find some support, I mean some resistance at the 50 EMA around that area, and maybe we'll kind of teeter-totter a little bit, maybe more, and allow the 50 EMA to slowly, maybe, you know, keep declining once we keep factoring in on the price levels, and it'll probably form some confluence with the intraday VWAP, and you know, kind of they'll probably meet at this area, just adding more resistance. So if it does, you know, the price action, you know, just does go up, it will possibly reject right towards the downside, and possibly, you know, continue towards the target. Here the day lows of by the overall pivot point here at around $48.32 here. So it's just a matter of time before we see that there on SMCI there, and it's been, you know, pretty strong on the day. It's, I mean, on the daily, you know, following NVDA and AMD, but now it's kind of weak. So maybe some profit taking, some individuals, you know, looking to, you know, get some of the position out. We got BTB, BTBT. No liquidity. Just look at the shape of these candles. Like, nah, not interested in this name at all. APLD. We're seeing a nice upward move, but now it's seeing like some selling. It's below VWAP. Actually, it's above VWAP, but again, it's still below the 50 EMA. The only way we'd be looking long would be a decisive close and break above the 50 EMA, which would, you know, propulse it, or, you know, move it, I believe, towards this $1093 level here, towards that upside. But if it doesn't, then probably just reject or be within this certain range that it's been holding for pretty much the majority of the overall day here. So not really interesting here. And Applied Digital Corporation, and let's see, BBEG, not really, pretty weak. Amazon on the day, it's was pretty strong, had some sellers, reversed the move, found support at the 50 and confluence with the pivot point, and it's finding, you know, some support around this zone. This may be the formation of the higher low here. So we have a low, higher low, so we may see maybe a reversion back towards the mean here of VWAP towards 220. But yeah, Amazon not looking too strong today. I think yesterday it was doing quite well, but right now it's, yeah, not looking too strong, right? It's kind of reversing a little bit, right? So I had that nice upward move, and now it's, you know, it's been propulsing towards the downside. So kind of a shame to see that on Amazon. On the daily, it's still looking really bullish, right? I'm looking for a swing trade on that name. We'll probably do a video going deeper into the analysis, or, you know, just providing on the newsletter maybe the trade of the week, right? It all depends on if the name is better looking than the other names that are kind of setting up towards the upside, especially the energy sector. I've been seeing a lot of movements in that overall area. But yeah, it may be the trade of the day and of the week. We'll post it on the newsletter, a little bit more detailed, and with exact entries, areas where the trend or overall trade is invalidated, and upside targets, based obviously not on my overall prediction, but based on the numbers and price action, which numbers never lie, right? Statistics never lie, right? And I think that's something that traders sometimes get wrong. They want the stock to move to the price target. They be like, oh no, I want Amazon to go to 300. I'm not getting out until I get to 300. And at least you expect it. You enter, let's say theoretical. You enter at 200. You say, yeah, I have a price target of 300, but you're not basing it off of nothing, right? You have no evidence of even that possible move. And the stock, it goes up, it goes in your direction. You enter at 200, but it goes to 250, and you say, no, I'm not exiting until 300. But then it declines towards 225, right? You missed that overall move. But if you would have done your analysis properly, you would have realized that, hey, it's overextended. You gotta take some profit off, right? And maybe buy down. You put, let's say, 1,000 shares. You go long, goes there, pulls. You take some money off, take some profit. Half of it pulls back. You buy a lower price, continue the upward momentum if it is strong. Right, so it's kind of important to take into factor the statistics, not just random arbitrary, pretty much price targets that traders impose on themselves. Right. Let's see, Wolf Research. This one, I don't know. I believe it's maybe setting up for a day swing trade, although it's pretty weak. It's not on the day. It's above the 50, but I like this curl as well. But let's see on a daily chart. Let's see. Yeah, like it's finding support again, 50, EMA, all that. Like it's slowly starting to kind of, bid up. And yeah, I'd like to be long if it breaks above, let's see, this level, 465. If that level does break on the swing trade, I'm be looking to play this easily with options. Kind of get a little more leverage here. Yeah, if it does break above 465, we see maybe some type of candle here on Wolf Research. Let's see if I take this. Let me see if I move this. It's kind of my notes here, my annotations. But let's see if we, we're seeing the intense upward move, right? If we analyze this, kind of zoom out a little bit, we're finding some resistance at the swing high anchored VWAP. Let's see, let's remove this pivot points. So we're seeing, this low was formed, right, around April 17th, the overall important low that the market overall formed and the majority of stocks to recover. We had a higher low here form, a higher low, and a higher low here. We're moving this, we're seeing that upward propulsion, right? We're just finding some resistance here and here, but we kind of peaked above it for a little bit here on June 9th. But I believe if we see some type of decisiveness, I don't know, maybe some catalyst over the next couple of days or a week, if we see some type of candle like that does this and manages to close above that, like this, oh, it's a long. If this case happens like this, like we have a decisive candle that closed above and breaks above here and closes, like I said, above the swing high anchored VWAP, this white line that's been declining, and above this previous high, you could say, then it would show the higher high formation of the long trend that's been forming here, right, since the beginning of that April low, right, that little upward move, right, and it would add to the confirmation, and we'd see a candle like this that would be a long towards the upside, right, with targets obviously towards the next area of resistance here, probably swing that with options towards 697. So we could say pretty much $7 here. You probably lift that up, yeah, around this area here. $7 is the next area of resistance here based on the technicals. And yeah, but that would doing too much. It all depends if the stock does set up like that there on Wolf Research. Or Terrible, I mean Terrible. Yeah, it's very interesting here. Very interesting. See if we kind of zoom out, kind of checking a little bit here of the price action. Yeah, but overall, I would say that, yeah, I'm looking bullish on the same if that case does occur here overall. And yeah, looking now back towards, that's pretty much the majority of the names that are moving based off volume. And I think that's very important, right? If there's no volume, then there really isn't any movement, either towards the upside and toward the downside. So that's why I use this scanner, the volume gainers based off here the exchange on the NASDAQ, because they're mostly tech, right, involved in that. They're in favor, right? And let's see, on the daily, NVDA is looking really bullish, broke above all-time highs. But let's see, now kind of pulled back a little bit, pulled back a little bit here on the day. May find support here, this confluence zone here at VWAP and the EMA. So let's see, for example, using here, let's say the 15-minute, 10-minute chart. Yeah, we see that kind of encounter that resistance here. Now we're pulling back. We'll have to see if we do hold here above VWAP, this area here, this confluence zone. I believe the stock has a power, to go towards the highs again and maybe test the 159 level and then find that key area of resistance at that 160. Which I think will be a next area of pretty heavy resistance, or where people will slowly start to take some profits off and just slowly add that supply and overall decrease the demand here on the overall name. But other than that, NVIDIA's pretty much on the overall name. It's been the leader, one of the top movers, right, on overall the market. I'm liking this name, right? So looking now at the majority of the Max 7, a little bit of an outlook. It's like a little bit tapped Apple. Pretty flat on the day. This name, like I said, it's been having a lot of trouble getting above that 200, right? It's been kind of ranging in between that $200 level. It's sometimes above, sometimes below. It just kind of shows the indecision that's pretty much present here on Apple. It's kind of a shame, right? We kind of expected some more downside here on Apple, and it's kind of factored in, right? Because they're just not innovating, I guess. The investor sentiment is kind of bearish here on the name, or else we would have seen the upward movement here on Apple. Looking now at, let's say, Meta, actually had a price target increase, I think all the way to $800 here, and it's actually flat on the day. Looks like it doesn't really care. But the strong one is NVIDIA. Looks like that so far. Let's see, Netflix, how that doing? Pretty strong on the day. Now it's above the 1300. And I think the next price target that we have is let's see, on the daily. I think we plotted this. Let's see. Yeah, so that's the first price target that we had at 1200. We break that down on the video that we posted. Just search up Netflix on the channel. It was like 2 months ago we had this price target, and see the next price target based is going to be, let's see, looks like we took it off. It's pretty weird. Yeah, it was quite nice to see that it broke above, held, found some support, some buyers, and it just keep going up from there. Really strong. On the day, it's been ever since the April lows. Just look at Jesus, look at this name. That recuperation just shows that intense upward momentum. Just look at that, and it obviously makes sense, right? Because with all the tariff talk, Netflix wasn't going to be too heavily impacted, right? They're mostly software, and I don't think there was going to be any tariffs imposed on the software side, mostly the physical side, obviously, right? But that's why I think we've seen this intense upward move here on Netflix, and they've been also scaling. Their revenue's been increasing. They've have amazing earnings, and we're not too far away from the earnings actually. Next month here on July 17th. Here, let's see. Yeah, July 17th, and the revenue is quite well. They only make 11 billion in revenue. That's pretty good, intense volume. But maybe we're buying ahead of the earnings. Maybe buy the news. Buy the rumors, sell the news. So maybe in earnings we'll probably see some profit taking. And some key areas maybe we can retrace back to 1200 or around this level. I'd like to be adding into this name on the long term. If we do get cheaper price, right? This is pretty high. It's the all-time high for Netflix. I don't know why you haven't done a split, right? We've been waiting for that on the earnings calls, but they haven't split the name at all. Let's see at that 1300. Let's see if we do some analysis. Let's see. Let's kind of gauge where Netflix has the potential to go. Let's see. Yeah, ever since the earnings, it's been nothing but a bullish case. Let's see. So based off of our here levels, the next price target that it can reach is 1450, right? We're not too far off actually, right? It may sound a little bit far-fetched, but 1450 is looking like the next area of resistance and the next price target there for Netflix. So maybe we're not too far off, right? And I really maybe like to see that movement towards that upside. If we do have earnings and we do decline, maybe pull back towards this 1200 or somewhere around this zone, it will allow us to slowly see that curl and enter there towards that now new price target at 1450, right? Or who knows, maybe even the earnings it beats and it just gaps up higher and it's kind of reaching that price target. But the final price target that we have here on Netflix is 1450. Like I said, obviously based off what the earnings do and the overall economic outlook here on the overall ticker, but it's been nothing but upside, which I'm really glad to see that there on Netflix, right? And kind of pulling back towards VWAP now intraday, but daily chart absolutely bullish. Let's see. Now the other name here is Microsoft, the Max 7, and yeah, you could say pretty strong on the day. Now it's rejecting this $500 level here on the daily, and here also as well on the intraday time minute. It was pretty strong, kind of flattish at the beginning. We saw a nice break there above 498, saw a dollar move, found resistance exactly at that level there, found some resistance exactly here. Now moving toward the downside, may find some support here at this VWAP and the 50 EMA, forming that confluence. Like I said, two levels matching support, so it just adds more towards the upside, more of that confluence. And yeah, it's a bullish trend, right? Even though we're kind of declining a little bit here and we're kind of ranging in a way. Well, think about this: we're above the 50, buyers are in control. We're above the VWAP so far, and also we've been forming higher lows, right? So this is a low, a higher low. This may be the next formation of the next higher low, and find some support here and extend ourselves now pretty much towards the upside, right? So we would like to see that overall on Microsoft, because it's a really nice company, and like I said, I'm really bullish on it because of their investment in OpenAI, and that's why I think also because they're really moving up quite well on the daily compared to the overall Max 7, and not just from that as well, pretty much their cloud is pretty strong. The last earnings, that's what had that nice movement, and they're strong on Azure, and also with the OpenAI investment, it's been pretty well. So I'm really liking this name here, Microsoft. I think they were thinking ahead of the game, and yeah, let's see pretty much what it does. But apart from that, I think we'll leave it at that for today. As always, thank you for joining the live stream, And be on the lookout here for the next video today that will be uploaded at 1 p.m. as always, on a very detailed analysis of a stock and overall how the overall economic outlook has been affecting the stock so far, and whether it's a buy or if it is a sell, right? So apart from that, hope you guys have a wonderful day, and we'll see you guys on the next time.